We have some pretty significant breaking news from the NHL. The Hurricanes and Seth Jarvis have agreed to a huge 8-year deal. We'll discuss the deal as well as its unique structure coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a pretty significant piece of news to talk about this morning. Seth Jarvis and the Hurricanes have agreed to an 8-year contract extension. Now, of course, Jarvis has been a pending restricted free agent here. We know he's one of the bigger names that are out there in the market. There's still several other important RFAs unsigned as well. But Jarvis was one of the guys that all the reports, everything we had heard, really didn't give fans or anybody real cause for concern that it was being worked on. They were very close. And even last week there were reports that it was getting there and should be done soon. So essentially they've agreed to a $63.2 million contract over 8 years. The part that's unique though is that this deal actually has deferred money in it, which has been legal and part of the NHL CBA since 2005, but it's almost never used. The Hurricanes also used this mechanism in the Jacob Slavin contract extension earlier this offseason. We weren't really made aware of that news right away, but we've since learned that part of the Slavin contract, like Jarvis, basically part of the signing bonus money, is deferred, which does not count immediately against the cap, lowers your AAV, and it's a way for teams to essentially free up money now while paying the player more later. So essentially in the Jarvis case, I know Daily Faceoff and Frank Saravalli had the report this morning kind of breaking down the structure, but essentially his report indicated they don't know the exact amount of deferred money. However, you can kind of do the math and kind of figure it out. So essentially the NHL has a calculation that they use for deferred money that basically creates a calculation where it creates a discount on the value of the contract, lowers the AAV, and teams can defer this money into the future. So in the case of Jarvis, money's been deferred into the beginning of the 9th year. Now, the beginning of that 9th year doesn't have a cap hit. So essentially, this contract takes us till 8 years in the future. Contracts always expire June 30th, which is why we have July 1 free agency. So on July 1, at the end of the 8 years, then he'll get another bonus payment from the Hurricanes, which was deferred until then. And here we are. Now, obviously, there's risk associated with the contract, but at the same time, it's a mechanism that I think we're going to see used more and more. If you follow other sports, there was a massive contract in Major League Baseball which used a lot of deferred money, like a really high chunk of deferred money in the Shohei Ohtani contract with the LA Dodgers. I think this is something we're going to see more and more of. It allows top players especially to get paid big money, but not take it all up front and during the life of the original contract so that they can afford other stronger players around them and have a better supporting cast, and that, teams can have better chances to win. But these guys that are making the top guys around the league with the big money can essentially be paid, well into the future. I don't know if we'll see anything like we saw. I know like Bobby Bonilla comes to mind in baseball again. A different scenario there. That wasn't deferred money, but it was a deferred buyout essentially. But same sort of concept where players could get money annually from teams well into the future after retirement, depending on what they're willing to agree to. Like I said, there's certainly some risk involved with those types of contracts. But with Draisaitl's contract coming up and McDavid not far away, wouldn't be surprised if we see teams use this more and more. Of course, the Carolina Hurricanes, I'm not surprised they're the ones that kind of exploit this more. They have an extremely brain trust, if you will. Eric Tulsky and the people he's surrounded himself with are wicked smart, analytics background. This is right up their alley. And we know Tom Dundon, who does get a bit of a reputation for being frugal, a little cheap at times. In this case, I'll have to give him credit because he's being the opposite of that now, because by allowing them to defer money on the Slavin and Jarvis contracts, it allows them to spend even more on their cap now because it lowers those cap hits, but it doesn't lower the actual amount of money he's paying out. So it allows him to spread it out over a longer period of time. So obviously he likes that concept, and other owners might like that concept as well. So Jarvis's cap hit would have been $7.9 million in and instead, because of the deferred money, it ends up being about 7.5. So essentially, it saves the Canes about $400,000 on their salary cap availability. So it can be pretty substantial if you have multiple deals like this. Say you have a couple of top players and you're saving $400,000 or $500,000 on them. Well, that's a whole extra player on your roster that you might be able to sign for around $900,000 to $1 million or something. So at this point the Canes are cap compliant. They've got the Jarvis contract in. They don't need to move anybody. Of course, they do have Jesper Fast who can go on LTIR if necessary, but right now they don't need to do that. It's a big contract. I think Jarvis is worth every penny. There was pictures of him posted to social media not long ago, this last week. Picture of Jarvis with a big bag of money. So, everybody's saying Jarvis got the bag. And the Canes are selling t-shirts as well with the same thing, and doing it as a charity fundraiser as well for the foundation. So, after the news we got yesterday with the Johnny Gaudreau and his brother tragically passing, it's been a 24-hour period of just darkness and solemnness, and everybody's so sad around the entire NHL. This is not really the type of news that's going to make everybody perk up, but if anybody can, around the league as a player, can make people smile a little bit, it's Seth Jarvis. He's such a character, and obviously just looking at that face of his on the t-shirt, it just brings a smile, and we could all use the opportunity to smile today after the unfortunate news that came yesterday. Of course, we're still very much thinking of the Gaudreaus. It's going to be tough, I think, for a lot of people to move on. It's such an impact around the entire league. I can just imagine what the families are going through. We've learned more details, which we're not going to get into here right now, about what had transpired, what happened, how the information got leaked and all that. And it's just one of those stories I think is going to follow the league, obviously, for obvious reasons, for quite a long time. But Seth Jarvis is one of those players that I think we can all feel good for and happy for. A great kid, great personality, and nice to see one of the underused mechanisms in the CBA finally being put to good use, to good work here by the Hurricanes. And like I said, I think it's going to be a trend that we see with other teams too. So let me know your thoughts on the Jarvis contract. So 7.9 down to 7.5 with the deferred money, $63 million, with a chunk of that coming at the beginning of year 9 instead. So yeah, interesting structure. And of course, there's lots of signing bonus money in there as well. There's probably some trade protection. We don't have all those fine little details here just yet, but we'll see that later on. I will be back later with a news video later on today. We're kind of recapping the day's events, and we'll hopefully have a little bit more details to break that down further at that time. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.